ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Not Another Whiskey Podcast. I'm your co-host Mitch Beshard, and this is
Nicholas Polacki. Sorry, I didn't realise that was how you were teeing me up.
Did you forget your own name there, mate?
I did. You didn't point, you didn't blink. Usually, Mitch, I need visual aids, but I don't know what happened there. So, yes, I am. I think I'm Nicholas. Yes, I am.
You are
Last
definitely?
time I checked, I am.
All right, and you're the other co-host, right? You're still the co-host on this? Yeah?
Well, I'm periodically turning up from time to time. Either I'm the co-host or I'm just a really annoying repeat guest. So I'm not quite sure.
Right, well, thank you as always for joining us here. And today we've got a special episode. We're doing a 30 minutes with Mhari Winters, who is the distillery manager at the Cairn Distillery. Mhari, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
There we go. How's your day going so far, Mhari?
It's good. It's Monday, so there's always a bit of a hit or miss. What's the day going to be like on a Monday? Is it going to be a bit crazy or chill? So yeah, today's not been too bad at all.
Good effort.
Right, so man, I'm going to kick it off. You know, we both worked together at William. Well, actually, all three of us worked at William Grant and Sons at the same time. You were looking after production at both Balvenie and Kinninvie. You're now the distillery manager at the newest distillery in Speyside as we record this. And I'm saying that, you know, as we record this, you are the newest distillery that's opened up there because it's happening, as you know, every week there's a new distillery opening up somewhere. So the Cairn owned by Gordon MacPhail. Can you tell us a little bit about, before we get into the distillery and we get into some of the liquid that's going on there, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this whole whiskey thing?
Yeah, whiskey's all I've ever done, really. My very first job was a car park attendant at Glenfiddich when I was 16 in the summer holidays. And yeah, I just got really interested in the process. I'm a science geek, really. So I was interested in all the biochemistry and stuff, all the enzymes, the yeast, what was going on. So yeah, I wanted to try and incorporate that into my studies at school. I did a couple of projects in sixth year in biology and chemistry, and I did fermentation, and I did about alpha amylase, and I'd never really stopped. I went to uni and studied brewing and distilling, and worked for a number of different companies since then, big ones, small ones, done front of house stuff, tastings, tours, and then production, which is what I'm really interested in.
That's amazing. Do you have a preference of which one? Obviously, you've worked with Diageo, Glenglassaugh, Glenrothes, Balvenie, Kinninvie, and now at Cairn. Like, do you have a preference of what you've seen so far? Has that helped shape the work that you're now doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a huge amount from working with all these different companies. So working with Diageo, for example, gave me loads of experience about loads of different distilleries and how small tweaks in your production process can really influence the spirit character of what you're producing. At William Grant, I was looking after two distilleries that are kind of mashed together. Balvenie and Kinninvie are quite odd. They're very unique in the industry in that there's two mash tuns in the same mash house producing two different single malts. With the same front end, so you've got the same mill, the same malt supply, two different mash tuns, and you're then tweaking your production to make sure that they are distinct and unique. And again, working for small companies, working for bigger companies, they've both got their pluses and minuses. But what really attracted me to the job here at the Cairn was we've got a brand new distillery, and it's run by a smallish company, Gordon MacPhail. I've been around a long time. They're family owned, and that's really important to me. It's you feel like you have a bit of influence, that you matter as a person within that company, and it's big enough that it's a decent sized distillery. We're producing 1 million litres of alcohol this year. We can go up to 2 million with some more washbacks put in place, and also small enough that you have that bit of influence with how you do things.
And on that note, did you join after the distillery was built, or did you have input into the distillery build and the whiskey style? And on that note, like, what is the house style of the new make moving forward?
So I joined in October 2021. So we had not started producing yet, but the distillery had been built. So all the production equipment and stuff was already in. The building was well underway. I did therefore have a little bit of influence into how we then ran that equipment, but it was, yeah, as I say, it was already in by the time I arrived.
Yep.
But we started commissioning just over a year ago. So we were commissioning in April. We managed to do our first mash towards the end of April. And yeah, me and my new team, I was able to recruit two new operators last year, and we really decided how we were going to commission and run the distillery in order to produce the spirit that we were looking to make. So Gordon MacPhail were really keen to produce a new make spirit that had lots of flavour, lots of character, and be able to stand the test of time in a cask. So it's not going to be overpowered by the wood. We want it to stand on its own. So medium bodied, lots of fruity esters coming through, nice sweet malty base, so quite complex, lots of different things going on there, and hopefully we've managed to do that fairly quickly, and we're really pleased with the new make spirit that we're producing.
Mhairi, I want to come back to production in just a minute, but for someone who hasn't been to the Cairn, and I was lucky enough, you guys invited me down, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. I had a great time down there. For me, it was great to actually see it, because I drive past there so often on my way down to Edinburgh from Speyside. And I remember when I first saw the ground being broken on it, and I was like, oh, well, what's happening there? At first, I thought it was going to be like a new sort of housing estate. I knew there was a distillery going in round about that area, but I didn't realize at the time that was it. So for me, it was great getting that experience that you guys give at the Cairn. If people are visiting you, can you give a little bit broadly about what they can experience when they go to the distillery?
Sure. So we look very different to a normal standard distillery. It's a very interesting building. It's curved, there's circular parts to it, and so immediately when you drive past it might not necessarily look like a distillery, although we've tried to angle it so that you can see the stills when you're driving past. So that's maybe your first little bit of an indication. We're obviously located in the Cairngorm National Park, and therefore how we built this distillery and how we integrated it into the local environment was really, really important. So as well as putting a distillery in what was an old farmland, really, field, we've got to ensure that we increase the biodiversity of our local environment. So we have done lots of different bits and pieces with the build to make sure that we achieve that aim. So one of the most interesting things we've done is put a sedum roof, a living roof. So it's short-rooted plants, the little flowering plants and stuff as well. They're succulents, and they attract loads of pollinators. So we've got lots of bees, lots of different insects buzzing around up there, which is amazing to see. We're hoping that that'll continue to thrive. It's been running really well so far, and we've got an ecologist that we work with who comes to check that, make sure things are running as they should. And we're also trying to encourage the nesting of wading birds as well. So we've made sure that there is long grass in certain places to let these birds nest and thrive. And nesting boxes for rare golden-eyed ducks as well. So there's lots of bits and pieces that we're doing over and above just making whiskey. So hopefully any visitors to the distillery will be able to get a feel for that as well. The environment will change and grow as the years go on. We've got loads of trees and stuff planted that will change over time. So the site that you come to see in the next couple of months will be completely different in 5-10 years time, and will grow. The distillery itself, what we're trying to do is look to the future. The Cairn is the future of Gordon MacPhail, and we're trying to produce something now that can lay down for the next 12, 20, 50, 75 years.
It's amazing that you guys have put in succulents to attract different wildlife. You know, if you leave out Iron Brew and Tunnock's tea cakes, you can attract Mitch Bouchard as well. Is that how he ended up finding his way there? Like E.T. following the trail of
Yeah.
Very good,
candy.
very good. No, on a serious note, that is so cool. I remember, after doing the tour with you guys, I walked down and it's literally a stone's throw away from the River Spey as well. And you guys have created like a beautiful spot. There's a nice path you can walk around, and it is fantastic to see that. And I think as well, I love the fact that when I went there for the tour, you offer different levels of tour, and you guys spoilt me with all the food that you supply for one of the, I think it was the high end tour, and then that tasting room as well. Again, overlooking the Spey is just absolutely stunning. You've done a great job on it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we really want to highlight where we are. We've got an amazing location, as you say, right down the space, just at the bottom of our site, looking out onto the Cairngorms and stuff as well. It's gorgeous, and yeah, with the food and the bistro, we're really trying to showcase local produce. So everything that is served is from Scotland and trying to be as local as possible, and it's a sort of tapas style menu, so lots of different little plates, and really just showcasing those ingredients. And there are two tours that come with food, but even the standard tour that doesn't necessarily come with food, you can purchase food later in the bistro should you wish to as well.
Super cool. I love the fact that this sounds like this distillery is just like for every distillery I've ever been to, I've always said it feels like a living, breathing thing. But to actually make the things around it, whether it's local farm food and that kind of farm to table or all Scottish kind of raised, and then having the elements that you've talked about with regards to the farmland and establishing trees and bringing back nature into part of that, I think it's really important. And it kind of encapsulates that kind of living, breathing feel of a distillery and brings it to a totally different level. So congratulations on that. With regards to the blends that you currently have out at the moment, and I know this isn't your wheelhouse, and we did speak about that off camera, but like, can you name obviously any of the backbone liquids for the existing liquid, or is this just from the stock profile of Gordon MacPhail's existing buys, and the distillery is now going to continue to create to that level?
Yeah, so the bottlings were put together from our existing stocks. Gordon MacPhail have quite a vast portfolio of different makes.
The biggest.
Yeah. I know,
the biggest I've ever seen anyway, outside of a distillery owned.
Stunned on my first day when I went into Elgin and got a tour of the warehouses. I'm like, oh,
it's insane, right?
I'd
it's
never
beautiful.
seen anything like it before. So yeah, we're unparalleled different like options there really. So different makes, different ages, different cask types, and what the team then did was to draw from those options and put together some blended malts that will hopefully emulate what the Cairn will produce in the future.
That's so cool. Now, the distillery, as Mitch said, is in the Cairngorms National Park. So being in a national park, does this mean that everyone in Scotland technically owns a little bit of the Cairn? This is Mitch, by the way, just trying to blag his way into be like, I'm now a distillery owner. Drinking, if you see him drinking the new make right off the still, you'll know why.
One of the things we like to do here is just kind of get away from the whiskey stuff a little bit and do like quick fire rounds. So what was your first ever whiskey?
Well, one that's memorable to me would be Aberlour Abuna. I used to work at the Whiskey Heritage Centre, or Whiskey Experience now.
Yeah.
And I remember that from those days.
There you go. It's a great dram.
It's a big one to start off with.
Yeah, I was going to say, holy hell. Yeah, wow. It's a big powerhouse to kick things off. Outside of Scottish whiskies, do you drink other whiskies from around the world, and do you have a top choice?
I would have drank a lot of Tullamore when I worked for William Grant. It was nice, easy drinking, and easy to mix.
We've all been there for Tully and Ginger.
The experience you've had in production now, you must have had some horror stories. What's the kind of worst one so far?
When I was at Glenglassaugh, it must have been maybe a week into me being on shift on my own, and had handover from the day shift operator saying, "You're good to go, ready to mash." I'm like, great, that's fine. So I went to go mashing in, everything's fine. And then maybe 20 minutes later, I took a walk downstairs and there's just grist and hot liquor all over the floor. Oh my goodness, what on earth has gone wrong here? So well, obviously stop everything, run downstairs and see that one of the draft doors, and they're manual draft doors there, wasn't quite shut. So I'm underneath of the wheel, shutting this draft door to restart everything. And every single mash after that, I checked downstairs like 5 times.
How long was the cleanup?
Not happen again. Oh God, it was awful, and sticky and just not fun. There was lots of hosing going on that evening.
I hope you got him back in to clean it all up, and you didn't have to.
Yeah, should have done.
Going back to the Cairn though, it must have been really exciting for you because that first bit of new make spirit running through the stills. Can you explain to all the listeners how that kind of felt and how that was it a big kind of ceremony when you guys did that at the Cairn?
Yeah, well, probably not a big ceremony. No, there was just me and the 2 guys on site, and then the guys from Forsyth who were helping us commission. But yeah, it was really exciting. I was there with my gas monitor because I'm in an ATEX zone, and my phone to film the first spirit coming through the safe. And yeah, for us, it was hugely exciting. We did a bit of a showcase and a party a few months later, once we'd kind of let things bed in and we were happy with our spirit character, and we had the family come on site, and that was amazing. I mean, it was great to see that first run come through. That was really exciting, but to then see how proud the family were of this new investment, this new creation of theirs, and how invested they were in it. Like, yeah, there was definitely tears to eyes, and that felt really cool to be part of.
And now that you guys are sort of bedded in, I suppose you could say, what, 6 months in, I think it is. Oh, it's a little bit more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a year now.
Yeah, a year now? Wow. Okay. So now you're a year in. Are you starting to experiment a little bit with the new make spirit? Are you starting to experiment with different casks right now, or is it still just keep going with the house style at the moment?
No, I mean, we are playing a little bit with production and spirit character. So what I would say, we've increased our production this year. So last year we were just doing a day shift. So we were working 5 days a week. We did 5 mashes. We're now doing 2 shifts a day, and we're doing 9 mashes a week. So there has been a change to our fermentation profile. So because of that, the spirit character has changed slightly, which we were expecting. So I'm now looking at how I can manipulate things to try and get it closer to what we were producing last year, which we were really pleased with. So with our production level this year, it's not to say that the spirit character is poor, it's just changed slightly. So there's probably more of that cereal note, which I'd said was kind of our base, and less of the fruity ester. So we just want to boost that ester production. So having a little play around with fermentation just now, and particularly on fermentation temperature, and to see whether we can reduce the initial lag phase of the fermentation, speed things up a little bit, do things a bit warmer, get the yeast working quicker, and that will then hopefully give us a bit longer for secondary fermentation towards the end. So I did a wee trial, what was it, last week before? So we ran that on 2 washbacks just to see whether our cooling on the washbacks would be able to cope, and it did. And I'm just waiting on a login that we can access remotely, because we don't work overnight. There's no one here after 10 p.m. at night, so we want to be able to monitor the cooling remotely. So I'm just waiting on some bits and pieces from Logic Automation to allow us to do that, and then we'll hopefully do a couple of weeks trial to see how that influences the spirit character.
That's fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
And it seemed like as well when I was there, there's quite the distillery's built so that it can expand. Would I be right in saying that? Because it seems like a lot of room in there.
Yeah, we've got room for another 6 washbacks, which would take us up to the full capacity of 2 million litres of alcohol. So at the moment, we're half of that. We're 1 million litres of alcohol. Without any more washbacks, I can't really make much more without significantly impacting the fermentation time, which I mentioned we've already reduced slightly to increase to the 1 million.
Is all the warehousing on site for that, or are they going to move some of the barrels around?
No, we don't have any warehousing on site at all. So being in the national park, planning permission for a big shed probably wouldn't be terribly easy. I think towards the beginning of the project, they did look at a warehouse on site, but very specific type of warehouse. It would have had like kind of built into the landscape, really. Grass roof type thing, and actually the number of casks that you'd be able to store in there would be pretty small, really. So it was decided not to go ahead with that. So all our warehousing is done over at Benrowick, our sister distillery in Forest, so it's about half an hour away. So the casks are all stored there. And we do have a project to put up another couple of warehouses there over the next couple of years as well.
I know one of the things that you guys have, which is pretty crazy, going back to the bottles that you have, which I don't think we've mentioned. This is a kind of futuristic look on how the Cairn is going to taste in 12 years time, and you go all the way up to 70 years old. Is that right? Is that a blended malt that's 70 years that people can taste? I believe it's the oldest blended malt in the world, right? Have you tried that?
Yeah. So yes, it does go up to 70 years old, and yes, all of them are blended malts. And I think it's an amazing opportunity to be able to taste some of these on site here. I mean, it's not every day that you get to taste a 70-year-old whiskey. So that you get the opportunity to taste that on our top level tour.
I want to say thanks very much. It might be going into summer, but we are all about the winters right now. So Mhari, thanks very much for coming on Not Another Whiskey Podcast. It's been really informative, really exciting. Congratulations on running, building, and tweaking the Cairn as in living time. I think that's super exciting, and great to see the vision of what Scotch whisky is going to look like.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Mhari.